Spider-Man 4 has exciting new connections to the larger MCU and the animated Spider-Verse franchise now. BD here, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and in this video we are going to talk about why Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton directing Spider-Man 4 is excellent news for the wall crawler, how it's going to impact the character and the rest of the MCU, and the animated Spider-Verse franchise. So stay tuned all the way to the end of the video because we have a special little cameo for you at the end there. And if you don't mind hitting the subscribe button because we're charging towards 25,000 subscribers on the channel, and that is so exciting. First of all, Destin Daniel Cretton was supposed to direct Avengers: The Kang Dynasty back before it became Avengers: Doomsday. He even told me so at New York Comic-Con himself. This all leads me to believe that there's an opportunity to not only tell an interesting ensemble story, but also raise the bar for Spider-Man movies without having to do so in a spectacle-driven fashion. Cretton's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was the best new hero movie since Avengers: Endgame that Marvel has put out. And there are several reasons for that, starting with the fact that the characters came first. Shang-Chi and his sister Xialing were the heart of the film, and their relationship with their father drove the entire plot very personally and nicely. Even the Katie character and her relationship with Shang-Chi kept the film from relying entirely on world-ending stakes and more driven by getting the audience invested in interpersonal relationships. And then come on, the action of that movie was phenomenal. From the bus fight in San Francisco to the opening sequence to Shang-Chi literally riding a dragon and dueling his father, Cretton's movie had some of the most innovative action the MCU has seen since Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Cretton not only delivered great action sequences in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, but also directed a couple of episodes of American-Born Chinese and EP'd the series, and this show also has some fantastic action sequences. This all means that it's entirely possible, and I say plausible, that Spider-Man 4 delivers the best Spider-Man action scenes that the live-action world has ever seen. And I'm going to say that'll be a certainty if Cretton gets Bill Pope to return as a cinematographer again. Pope previously did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, but before that he did the Matrix movies and he did Spider-Man 2 and 3 with Sam Raimi. He would be a phenomenal addition to Spider-Man 4, and my fingers are really crossed that Bill Pope is filming this one. Much like Spider-Man Far From Home before it, Spider-Man 4 is likely going to follow an Avengers movie, this time coming after Doomsday in 2026. It's unclear though whether or not Spidey will be in that movie, which brings RDJ back to the MCU as Victor Von Doom, but we do know that Peter Parker is going to be struggling with people he loves not remembering him, and a villain named Victor Von Doom looking just like his Uncle Ben, Tony Stark, will be a really interesting dynamic to see Tom Holland's character explore. And outside the MCU, we can turn to the comics, immediately looking at the 2011 Spider Island comic, which saw Shang-Chi training Spider-Man in Kung Fu. Shang-Chi actor Simu Liu, who is fully expected to reunite with Destin Daniel Cretton for a Shang-Chi sequel, which might be this movie, has already expressed interest in seeing these moments brought to life when I talked to him for an interview, which was at the time for my Phase Zero show. The Spider Island story in the Amazing Spider-Man comics also kicked off by having Madam Web warn Spider-Man about the coming events, and Spider-Man fully just dismisses her like most of us would after we saw that Madam Web movie, but there seems to be a chance that Spider-Man 4 could end up being the multiverse story that ties all those Sony Marvel movies together. We have Venom out there, Morbius, Kraven, possibly El Muerto. We really only want Venom. The MCU does love pairing Spider-Man with other major characters from the MCU. First it was Iron Man in Homecoming, then in Far From Home it was about the death of Tony Stark, but with Nick Fury and Maria Hill in there, and Happy Hogan too. Then it was Doctor Strange and all the other Spider-Man in No Way Home. So while I would love to see a street-level Spider-Man swinging around New York, fighting Spider-Man villains and doing his own thing, I fully expect that we're going to see Shang-Chi in this movie. The character's debut came more than 3 years ago, and we only know so far that he'll be showing up next when What If Season 3 arrives in December and features an alternate universe animated version of the character. Like I said earlier, Cretton and Liu have been expected to reunite for a Shang-Chi sequel, so I think that Spider-Man 4 might be like a reworked version incorporating some of that into this. And it might even turn into a bigger New Avengers segue type of title heading into Secret Wars. A street-level New York City team could form with previous relationships existing between Peter Parker and Daredevil himself, Matt Murdock. We have the new Hawkeye herself, Kate Bishop, running around New York City. And even the Thunderbolts have a scene in New York City if what we saw at D23 and San Diego Comic-Con is any indication. Overall, I think Destin Daniel Cretton directing Spider-Man 4 is a massive, gigantic, undeniable win for the Spider-Man franchise. I really enjoyed what Jon Watts did with Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, but I think that Destin Daniel Cretton has a more unique and interesting, especially visually. It's a very visually stimulating style for a franchise like this, and that's very exciting. I think this presents an opportunity to elevate the character, his environment, his supporting characters, his individual story, and the MCU story as a whole, as this is probably going to fit right between Doomsday and Secret Wars. And I do think that this movie arriving in 2026 is going to be a big reason why, like Jeff Snyder said in his report on Monday night, that we won't see Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse until 2027. I think maybe the creative reasons are because Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, Secret Wars might involve Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Beyond the Spider-Verse might end up incorporating those characters in some way. Not to mention, the timeline representation as a visual in Across the Spider-Verse was very similar and in line with how we've seen timelines represented in Loki and the Marvel Cinematic Universe's live-action version. So maybe it's all connected, and Sony and Marvel are really doing something big to get Miles Morales involved at the end of this. I don't think Miles will be in Spider-Man 4 unless it's a credit scene, but there's probably a whole video about that I could make, so if you want to see that, drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you want Spider-Man 4 to be called? Should they call it Spider-Man and Shang-Chi if it's something in the vein of Deadpool and Wolverine? Should it be Spider-Man vs. Venom? Or is it just Spider-Man Brand New Home, and do we keep the home thing going? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you want to see in future videos. If you have suggestions, tips, tricks for YouTube, I'm all ears, and I'm reading and I'm engaging because I'm really excited to grow this channel with you all. Please continue to subscribe because, like I said, we're on our way to 25,000, and Spider-Man 4 right around the corner. We're going to talk about all that and more. See you in the next video.
Hey, it's Jamie. I'm on my way to a premiere, but I had to stop and share my thoughts on this Spider-Man 4 news. Destin Daniel Cretton directing Spider-Man 4? What? He's gonna crush it. All I can think about is the bus scene in Shang-Chi and how that's gonna carry over to some awesome Spider-Man content. But does this mean we're never getting Shang-Chi 2? I hope for Brandon's sake we are. But I think this is positive news, and I'm hyped about it.